Meanwhile, let's talk NFL because the draft is just 9 days away, and Colorado quarterback Shedeur Sanders has a date with the Giants prior to the draft. Adam Schefter reporting he'll do a private workout for New York in Boulder on Thursday. The Giants have the 3rd overall pick. So we'll see where Sanders actually goes, but Mel Kiper Jr. has him as the top-ranked quarterback in this year's draft class, ahead of projected top pick Cam Ward. Now, Sanders set Colorado's single-season records and passing touchdowns and while leading FBS in completion percentage. All right, senior NFL insider Adam Schefter joins us now with more. And Shefty, what more can you tell us about this private workout for Shedeur on Thursday?
Well, Kelsey, the Giants are putting an awful lot of work into a lot of quarterbacks. They're going to privately work out Shedeur Sanders, Jalen Milroe, Tyler Shuck. So a lot of quarterbacks getting a lot of extra time. But there's no quarterback that the Giants have put any more time into than Colorado's Shedeur Sanders. They were at most, if not all, of his games this season. They attended his practices. He came to New York to visit on a top 30 visit. They went to his pro day. Now they're going to have a private workout on Thursday in Boulder. And clearly, the Giants are trying to make a decision about whether or not to take Shedeur at 3, to trade back into the first round, to try to get him at a later spot in the first round. But they are weighing whether or not to make a big, bold move and a big bet on Shedeur Sanders. The sense around the league is that there is support for Shedeur within certain segments of the Giants organization, but not all. And we'll see how that manifests itself and plays out in the days leading up to the draft next Thursday in Green Bay.
As you mentioned, just over a week from the draft, they do have the 3rd pick, and ESPN Bet has over-under set for his draft pick at 8.5. So we'll see how that shakes out. Meanwhile, the Saints are sitting at number 9 now, but after last week's news, the quarterback Derek Carr is dealing with a shoulder injury that could threaten his availability this season. The question is, will they stay at the 9th pick? The Panthers pick ahead of them at 8th and could potentially dictate how things go. Here's GM Dan Morgan earlier today.
And when the Saints news came out Friday, did that kind of cause a little uptick in traffic on your phone? I mean, were more people interested in talking once that's out there?
No, I don't think yet. I think it's still a little early for that. I think maybe down the line I'll expect it a little more, but right now things are quiet. It only takes one team to fall in love with a player, so a team could fall in love with a player and decide they want to trade up with us and go get their guy. So I really don't look at it like that. I just look at it as, a team's just may really love a guy. So we'll be waiting if somebody wants to come up.
And we'll be waiting to see if they do, because as of today, there have been no trades involving first-round picks in this 2025 draft. 9 days is the closest to the start of the NFL draft. There have been no trades for first-round picks since 1993, when the first trade that moved a first-round pick was 5 days before the draft. So we bring back in Adam Schefter. And Shefty, what are you hearing about the potential for draft day trades next Thursday?
Well, on draft day, it's always possible, but just like Dan Morgan, the Panthers GM, said, there are a lot of GMs waiting for calls to come in because there are a lot of teams that are open to moving back in this draft. The one team that hasn't been willing to move back is the Tennessee Titans at number 1. But all these other teams would love somebody to call them on draft day or before to move up, whether that's the Carolina Panthers at 8 or any other team. The issue is we haven't seen a trade so far. There's been a lack of them. There's been more inactivity in this draft than any draft this century. And so maybe it will pick up on draft night once certain players are on the board. But to date, there's been no indication of that. And so, yes, Carolina is in something of an advantageous position, 1 slot ahead of New Orleans at number 9. But there's no assurance that New Orleans is going to go quarterback at number 9 anyway. So the draft will play out, and GMs will continue to wait for their phones to ring.
And wait to see what happens ahead of them, and then we will get there. One, though, team that might be involved potentially in a draft day trade, it could be the Dolphins, Adam. GM Chris Greer, he told reporters today the team does intend to part ways with former All-Pro quarterback Jalen Ramsey. What more can you tell us about that?
Well, Kelsey, anytime a team advertises that it's moving on from a player, the trade market becomes more and more challenging. And the Dolphins knew that anyway, because Jalen Ramsey is owed $25 million for the upcoming season. And so, as is the case with many star players, money always is an issue whenever there's a big-name player who's being traded. And it'll be an issue here with Jalen Ramsey, but the key part is the Dolphins feel like it's best for both sides to go in a different direction. It's what Jalen Ramsey wants. It's what the Miami Dolphins want. Both sides moving on from each other. We'll see if the Dolphins can find a trade partner. Not a simple deal to pull off. There are challenges within that, but the Dolphins are moving on, and they know they're going to have to count on some of their younger players, former high draft picks like Cam Smith, to step in the absence of the former All-Pro defensive back Jalen Ramsey.
Chris Greer told reporters today that they, of course, gave this a lot of thought. Jalen Ramsey, 7-time Pro Bowler, 24 interceptions in 9 seasons, but just 2 last seasons there in Miami. Adam Schefter with the latest here on SportsCenter.
Kelsey, we also have a developing story on SportsCenter. The future of tight end Mark Andrews in Baltimore is now in question, as Ravens GM Eric DeCosta was non-committal Tuesday when asked if the 3-time Pro Bowler will stay with the team.
Mark Andrews is a warrior, and he's played his butt off for us, and his competitiveness, his talent, his attitude, his leadership is so valued here. And he's a great player, and I think we're in the business of keeping as many great players as we can. So there's always a lot of unpredictability with the draft. You just never know.
Andrews, who caught a career-high 11 touchdowns last season, is one of 3 tight ends since 2018 with 5,000 receiving yards and 40 receiving touchdowns. The other 2 are guys you may have heard of, Travis Kelce and Jordan. Think of a better person to talk about this with than Kyle Brandt, who joins us as part of ESPN NFL Network crossover. And Kyle, you're already winning because you're in Sedona. I mean, that's a gorgeous background, and you apparently packed a vintage SportsCenter T-shirt for your trip.
I don't leave home without it, Hannah. It's a thrill to be on with you. I was classically raised on Stu Scott and Charlie Steiner, but I've been watching you since '08, and it's real. And it's spectacular. I am outside of Phoenix right now. I heard Stephen A. said the Suns were on the way to having the worst owner in NBA history, so I'm here to give them a pep talk. It's not going well, so I thought we'd talk some draft together, you and I.
Okay, so you're there for Matt Ishbia, okay, but we're going to talk some football, great, because we love hearing you do that on Good Morning Football. Listen, this is such an interesting topic. You heard the guys just talk about some of the coaches at the top of the draft. I'm wondering what you think is the best fit, given everything you've heard about Travis Hunter.
It's such a fun topic. I love this, and I come at it from a place of a fan, Hannah. I want to see this happen. I want to see a true two-way player because I know how difficult it is. I've seen this my entire life. Charles Woodson comes into the NFL, also a Heisman winner. He has 2 career catches. Champ Bailey started 1 game on offense. Deion himself started 8 games, and he had to quit baseball to do it in '96, and they still scrapped it after 8 games, the Cowboys. Those guys couldn't do it, so how's Travis Hunter going to do it? You have to go back to Bednarik and Baugh. And I would look at what Wilbon said, and actually, like I've done for a lot of my adult life watching his show, disagreeing with Wilbon. I think there is that Parcellian figure at the top of the draft. I think there is the coaching staff, and that coaching staff is New England Patriots. I think you need a head coach who is confident, borderline arrogant, who has job security, and something we like to call chutzpah to start a player both ways. I think that's Mike Vrabel personified, and he has the coordinator. He has Josh McDaniels, who has been around the block, who has the patience, who has the creativity to sit over there and let Travis play some corner and then join the wide receiver room. Lastly, with the Patriots, Hannah, I think they have the fan base for it. They have a fan base who has seen everything over the decades, a fan base who has seen everything, including guys like Troy Brown and Julian Edelman playing 2 ways when they need to. I think they need talent there. I think that man on the right and the left are perfectly fit to say to the media, we're doing this and we're doing this our way. I want to see Travis Hunter to the Patriots.
Yeah, you just wonder if he's going to be there at 4. And also, remember, I mean, Vrabel was a 14-year linebacker, but he himself also had a dozen touchdown catches, including 2 in Super Bowls. Meanwhile, let's talk about his old team, Kyle, in Nashville, top overall pick in this draft. The majority of our draft analysts, hey, let's face it, everybody, has the Titans taking Miami quarterback Cam Ward first overall. They've been struggling to find a permanent solution at quarterback since they traded Steve McNair to Baltimore following the 2005 season. Kyle, why is this decision so clear-cut at number 1?
Because of the graphic we just showed, and he's sitting there, and he's that much better than the second best quarterback, and the top pick needs a quarterback. I just have to take a minute, though, Hannah, and say how thrilled I am that we're actually allowed to talk about Cam Ward. I didn't know if that was allowed on any network in any state. I have never seen or heard less coverage of a #1 overall pick quarterback in this era. I understand. He did not go to Colorado. He did not win the Heisman. He doesn't play both ways. I don't know much about Cam Ward's father. I know that's very important there, but I know he is the #1 undisputed quarterback in this draft, and it's like he doesn't exist. I'm becoming a Cam Ward stan because I want him to get his due love, to get his adulation. His name's 2 syllables long. Roger Goodell is not even going to finish announcing it on draft night before all of us scurry over to talk about which Colorado kid the Cleveland Browns are going to take. I'm old enough to remember when Eric Fisher was the #1 pick, and it was a lineman from Central Michigan, a lineman from the MAC, and he filled more PTI segments than Cam Ward is filling right now. And I love not just the player, Hannah, not just the talent. There is a story here. Don't tell me that the Colorado guys are the only story. Cam Ward was a 0-star recruit out of high school, just like Josh Allen, the reigning MVP. He landed somewhere called Incarnate Word, not for 5 seconds, for 2 whole years. Incarnate Word, which I think a lot of people cannot pronounce nor locate on a map, and he will be standing there holding up a jersey over all the Ohio State guys, all the Alabama, all the Georgia. Incarnate Word. He is a prospect incarnate at #1, and I love that we're actually talking about it. Thank you for asking.
And I love the way you brought all that together, his peripatetic career ending in such a great way in Miami. Last Miami quarterback selected in the
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Ngày hôm nay mình sẽ tiếp tục hướng dẫn các bạn làm vòng. Vòng hôm nay của mình sẽ có tiêu đề là bong bóng. Mọi người, hôm nay vòng của mình sẽ có tiêu đề là sân trường.